Welcome to Resilient in Business, a podcast where we dive into insights, strategies, and systems to help you build scalable, thriving businesses. My name is Jad Atwe. I'm an engineer, an entrepreneur, and a business coach. Our intention from this show is to provide value and inspire entrepreneurs to keep pushing forward no matter the challenges. If you enjoy the content, subscribe and help us spread the message. Now, let's get into today's episode. I'm excited for today's episode. Today, we're talking about what does the CFO do? What are CFO services? How do those people support businesses and their growth? For that, I'm joined by Stephanie Peterson. Stephanie is the owner of Accounting Pro LLC, where she helps her client with just that, basically, along with accounting services, bookkeeping, and I'm sure there's other things that I've missed here. Stephanie, thank you for joining us. I'm excited for this conversation.
Thanks so much for having me.
Out of everything one can do, what got you excited about accounting?
Oh my gosh. My thing with accounting is that 2 and 2 is always 4, right? It wasn't subjective. Now, as I got into it, I learned that it is a little bit more subjective based on how you look at things, but I really liked that it had like an answer. And when I was doing audit, I knew what the answer was going to be before I got to it. So then when I was doing my work, I was like, well, I know this is what the answer should be. So that was just that consistency. Then when I really got into like the numbers and helping people and see how they make a difference, that's what gets me excited.
So,
Which most people think accounting is boring, and
yes.
I'm the translator.
So you're saying spreadsheets are relaxing, they are a source of joy?
Yeah, sometimes.
Someone has to think that. That's someone has to do that.
Yeah, I've always loved it. Just, it's a puzzle for me, and I enjoy it.
Let's talk about your business. Have you always been in accounting, or how did your career evolve?
I have done a ton of things. Most of what I've done has been accounting, like working jobs in accounting. When I was in school, my dad was VP of finance for a major bus company, and in the accounting department, the person in charge of payroll went on maternity leave, and so they put me in there, and I did the payroll. I did it was like the executive payroll, salary, hourly payroll. Some weeks I had 2 payrolls, some weeks I only had 1. And I was fast. And this was, I finished the work much faster. And so then I would walk around the factory because all my dad, he was a VP of finance and all his friends were VPs. And so I would just walk around to different departments looking for things to do. And the other people in the accounting department did not like me for that because I showed just how fast you could get their job done. And that was probably the beginning of it for me. Had I listened to my dad, I would have gotten an accounting degree the first time, but I didn't. So long way around. I just kept going back to accounting. Every time I was in a volunteer situation, I was always the treasurer. So I worked in accounting for a long time, had a bookkeeping business 20 something years ago, and then went back to school, got my master's in accounting, started doing tax and audit, and then had companies with my husband for a while, and we're transitioning out of those. And so I was like, well, what do I want to do if I get to do whatever I want? I'm going back to accounting.
Based on all of this history, I mean, you're the perfect person to talk about this topic. What does Accounting Pro LLC specialize in these days? Who are the people that you support, and what services do you provide?
So, ideally, I'm supporting business owners in the $500 to $5 million revenue category. Just to 10, but in that up to 5 to 10 it's a good mix. Just depends on what the company is, if they need a CFO. I do a lot of fractional CFO work, and I'm working with business owners to get an idea of what's going on in their business, forecast their cash, make sure they're bringing in enough cash flow, and then it's a viable business. And we do that by meeting together, going over their goals, and working to make sure that they have enough cash to meet those goals.
Yes. So at what point does a business realize that we need a CFO or a fractional CFO to support us in our operations? When do they realize that?
If you are a growing company and you want to make it to the next level, but you're not really sure how to do that, that's when you would call in a fractional CFO. Other times it's when the business is doing really, really well and your revenue's up, but you're not seeing it hit the bottom line. And so what we do is go over, look at the whole business, lots of different areas, and see where your leaks are, and then pull different levers to like, okay, let's stop this, let's, revamp this, let's change our pricing. We're doing lots of different things to plug up the cash leaks and to let that hit the bottom line.
Yeah. There's a lot involved in this process. How do you guys start?
My first place to start is to figure out what your goals are. So depending on the size of the company, smaller businesses that just have one owner, I want to talk to the owner about what are your personal goals and your professional goals, because ultimately they're all your personal goals, right? You want your business to hit X, Y, and Z because you're trying to hit some other personal goal, whether it's sending your kids to private school, retiring, buying a jet, whatever your goals are, right? So we talk about what those goals are, and then from there we build the business around your goals. So we'll make changes. I have one client and she's French, and she's like, I want to spend 5 months at my home in France. And I was like, great. And so we reworked her whole business so that she can spend more time at her home in France and make money while she's there. Plus, have her other life back here in the States. And so we just revamped how she did everything and saw a lot of growth, saw a lot more money hit the bottom line, and she has the life that she was looking forward to.
Yeah. I'm imagining this is like a case by case basis because everyone's story, everyone's business is different. It's highly customized and personal.
Yes, very. The interview process takes like an hour or so, and then we would continue to talk about how we want to reach that goal, how fast you want to reach that goal, and then we meet every month and have more conversations, talk about we did this and this is what happened. Now let's try this lever this month and work through that, and then we meet again the next month, see what's working, what's not working. Some people want to talk more often. They'll talk 2 or 3, 4 times a month. Other people are like once a month. Some people are like once a quarter. I got this, right? And so we just work through whatever your goals are, what next steps you need to take to reach those goals, and then work together I'm a partner with them without being a partner in their business, right? I'm their strategic partner for them. Somebody that they can talk to, ask questions, and then we formulate a plan so that they can move forward and hit their goals.
So how should they prepare to work with you? What should they have ready in order to make sure that the information that you need is available so you can support them?
One of the things that we offer is cleanups, accounting cleanups, and then monthly bookkeeping. So we can help you do that. We can support with I have some people that are like, hey, I already have a bookkeeper, but can you just make sure that it's all right every month, kind of accurate, go over it, and then go forward? Some people are like, here are my books. I'm good with them. This is good. And so then we'll just go forward that way.
Hey, a quick commercial break. This podcast is brought to you by Business Optimization Partners, a firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs systemize their business and transform it into a professionally managed asset that is scalable and easy to operate. If you wish to learn more, download the guide to running a professionally managed business that's available in the description. Now, back to the episode. What do you find are the biggest issues that business owners get themselves into, or let's say missteps that you find when you're going there and working with them?
I would say that I won't say most, a lot of business owners, especially the creatives, numbers are not their thing, right? They are creatives. They're creating something, even business owners, they're creating something, and the accounting becomes an afterthought for them. And so they'll look at the bank account and say, oh, well, I've got money, I've got enough to make payroll or whatever. And they're not forecasting going forward to see, like, okay, we need to buy more equipment. Are we going to be able to do that? When are we going to be able to do that? How are we going to grow to our next step? We want to open up a new territory. How are we going to do that? Well, do we need to buy a new building? Or are we going to lease a new building? What capital do we have to have reserved? So we go through all of those things together so that they can hit whatever goals those are, right? And yeah, it's very customized. It's it's the exciting part for me to see when I'm working with a business owner and they're like, oh, and they have the light bulb moment, or, we tried these two things and they're really seeing a difference in their bottom line. That's what's exciting to me. The things that, they're not maybe doing correctly would be, you get the cash flow statement. I think the cash flow statement is the hardest report to read and understand. And it's not like, okay, well, I had this, I had that, these things go through it, but it's like, what is it saying to me? Why is this so important? It's the one that puts the balance sheet and the P&L together, but it's not always intuitive to read it. And so I think pulling out a lot of information from the reports and knowing what to do with that information, right? It's like, well, okay, I can see I'm making money. Well, does that cover your mortgage or your lease or any other liabilities that you have? We're just looking at lots of different things. And I don't think that everybody always looks at the whole picture. They're looking at a couple of, like, I have money in the bank, or I know that when I look at my P&L, I have a profit, and they're not seeing all the things that are going on.
I know from personal experience, like the financial part of the business tends to be the part that we ignore. We're focused on how do we get more work, how do we actually fulfill the work, but sometimes you don't want to look at the numbers because it's just you're busy doing what you're doing, or you just don't ignore them. You don't want to stress out. So I see the value that you're providing. It's clear that are we making money or we're not making money,
Right.
and how can we improve?
Yes. Well, and sometimes people are making money, businesses are making money and they're doing okay, but they're like, well, it's just okay. But I'm working more than I want to, or I'm not making as much as I want to, or, I really I thought I would be here by now and I'm not. So we get to, go in and look at everything and talk about it, and then be like, oh, look, if you did this, you're going to make this difference. That's the part that, like, lights me up.
Yeah. It's very important to have another perspective, someone that's specialized in this area, is doing it every single day with other businesses. It cuts to chase. You set this up for them. You require a lot of their time on a monthly basis in order to review it together and assess, or what's the involvement from their part.
If I have access to their accounting software, I can do a lot of it on the back side, like behind the scenes. And then I just like to set up an hour, because business owners they're busy, right? And they don't want to sit down. And if it's like, okay, well, I've got 30 minutes for you, but let's talk every other week. No problem. Or, I can devote a whole hour to you, and they make that commitment because it's a commitment to their business, right? I like to keep things simple. I like to keep it straightforward and, lay it out like this is the way that it is. And so if you have somebody who's like, hurry up, I can only give you 5 minutes. I'm not going to be able to help somebody who's not going to give me more than 5 minutes to understand what I'm saying. But if you have somebody who's dedicated and they're like, okay, yes, I see the value in this. Let's do an hour. let's talk about it and let's work on these goals. And then if there's something that's going on that they're like, hey, I want to do this, I want to change this goal because now we have this, or we want to move to this next level, then we'll do another strategy session. And we usually do a strategy session at the end of the year just to make sure that the goals are in check. We can definitely do an hour call. That would be the commitment from the business owner a month.
How long are you seeing does it take to get the business that you're involved with back on track or closer to the business owner's goals?
If the business owner is highly motivated, we can start making changes and see changes within about 30 to 90 days. You can definitely see changes in the 6 to 12-month range, but if they're highly motivated and there's an issue, we can definitely see a difference in 30 to 90 days.
What are advice you have for people around this area? What should we pay attention to, take note of, or consider?
So if you just want, I think that business owners, if they're looking at least 3 factors when every week, whatever those are. So it could be, I'm going to check my bank balance, I'm going to check my receivables, and I'm going to check my profit for the year. Those are key measures that you can look at every week. I would also add into those, because that's going to tell you what your income is, right? What you have in the bank, what you're expecting to come into the bank, and then what your profit has been up to this point. Adding in your payables really helps to get a better picture. Then you want to look at what's next though. Like, do you have a mortgage that you're paying, or equipment that's not on your P&L, right? Things that are on your balance sheet. And so that's where they're not going to show up on your P&L. Like I've done a lot of real estate, right? So you have a mortgage and your interest is on your P&L, but your principal is on your balance sheet. And so if you're looking at your P&L and you're like, well, I made 20 grand. Well, that's great. But if your mortgage is 25 grand, if your principal is 25 grand, then you're at a loss. So the P&L doesn't show the whole picture. And so if you pick a couple of things that you're looking at every single week, monitoring them, how they're changing, how they're growing, if you're looking at your bank balance and every week it's, $500 less, you've got an issue, right? If you're looking at your P&L and you're seeing that you're losing money every month, you've got some issues. And then you might have issues with your accounts receivable because your revenue's gone up, but your cash isn't hitting the bottom line because you've got a lot of receivables. And so you need to start collecting that money. One of the things that I do is help people set up things so that they're collecting money faster. And so they're not chasing after money that's already owed to them.
So we're organizing all of this information in some sort of a scorecard for them to review every week.
Yeah. Usually once a month. If they want to do once a week, we can. Depends on the business. Most businesses can go a month, but if they're really in dire straits and they have to make changes right away, then we can definitely do a scorecard every week. You're just not going to have the full picture because they're not able to reconcile everything on a weekly basis, right? They've still got things that are out. It just depends on what kind of business it is.
We've talked before. You told me that you've heard some horror stories about fraud that happens in businesses. Let's hear it. Let's share some stories.
Share some stories. So fraud begins, they have the fraud triangle, right? And it's opportunity, knowledge, and a justification. So I did a lot in, most of my background is in real estate. And so I would tell people that the person who is most likely to steal from you has the knowledge, right? They might be like the only person in your accounting department. So they've got the knowledge on what's going on. They have the opportunity because they know what everything is. And then they have some justification, and it's usually like that boss, they're making all this money and I'm doing all the work, or somebody has medical issues and medical bills that they're trying to pay. Their kids are going off to college. They're going through a divorce. Something's usually going on, right? And so they're the lone wolf and they're able to do things. So one example was somebody that I was working with, and they're like, accounting department, I don't need a whole accounting department. I'm going to streamline this, and I'm going to have one person, and they're going to do all of these jobs. It's going to be one person. I was like, that is a really, really bad idea. And so they went through and they went down, they cut out their accounting department. They went down to one person. Within 2 months of making all these changes, that person was writing checks, vendor checks, to their son's made up companies and cashing the checks and stealing them that way. I've seen managers that will go in and gift cards, like especially in real estate apartments, we give out gift cards for different things, move-in gifts or whatever, right? And so there was a manager that was going and buying gift cards, or going to like Home Depot, which was a normal place where we would go, and then buying a bunch of gift cards and then keeping the gift cards, but marking everything as like, oh, that was repair and maintenance. We fixed this, we did that. Well, they were buying gift cards and then pocketing the gift cards. It's just, you have to have more than one person in charge of the money, unless you're the owner, right? And in the beginning, you wear all the hats, but when you get somebody, one of the things is them knowing that, oh, somebody else is getting the bank statements. It's just that knowing that somebody else has eyes on the books keeps a lot of people, the majority of people, in line. But it's that they have the opportunity and then they justify it.
Those are, I guess, the controls, they call them.
Yes, absolutely. Checks and balances.
Looking back on your entrepreneurial journey, what do you see now that you think back and you see, I wish I did this sooner?
What would I have done sooner?
Major lessons learned.
Major lessons learned. If I could go back in time, I would have bought more apartments back in 2012 and then I would have sold them all in 2017.
Yeah. Time it perfectly, of course.
Perfectly, absolutely. Yeah, it's a different climate out there, and it seemed like for a long time it didn't really matter what you did, you were making money, right? And you didn't have to keep track of your books. You didn't have to do anything because the economy was roaring and everybody was making money, especially in real estate in Austin, like multifamily real estate, right? You could be a bad operator and still make a lot of money because the prices just kept going up. When everything turned in the market, then you found out who's a good operator and who's not a good operator, and how long can you hold on and can you ride out the wave. And so that's when, like, hopefully you would have hired me and we would put something in place, back when things are going well, right? If you don't, then when things are in a bad position, still call me, because we can turn things around, and we can look at the different levers and the things where your cash is leaking.
We'd like to end the episode on a positive note.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about in the future?
What am I looking forward to?
Buying more real estate. That we
Buying
know.
more real estate. People in multifamily, it's a bloodbath right now. So I am happy to have exited most of that. We still have a few things personally, but we've exited doing a lot of the large apartment complexes. I'm looking forward to seeing how the changes in the economy are going to impact the future of business, right? Like, one of the things is like, oh, well, we're not going to pay taxes anymore for people under, I think it was $200,000. So what is that going to do to accounting? What's AI going to do? It's all very exciting, and there's a lot of things going on and a lot of changes, and I'm here for the ride.
This was very insightful, especially since many business owners don't realize how important a CFO is, or what their role, or how can they support them on this journey. If someone wants to contact you, get in touch, what's the best way?
You can email me at Stephanie at accounting-pro.com. And my phone number is 512-763-2080.
Thank you very much. This was amazing. Thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning into the Resilient in Business podcast. This show is all about providing valuable insights and inspiring entrepreneurs to keep pushing forward no matter the challenges. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and help us spread the message. See you on the next one.